TED Talks is probably one of the most best ways you can get your ideas and perspectives out to the world. TED Talks provides us with many ideas that are worth spreading. Whether the TED Talk is informing you about certain issues in the country, entertaining you with poems or funny educational speeches, or providing people with perspective to change the way you think of the world. The list goes on and on, but I'm here today to discuss my TED Talk, how to speak so that people will listen. I chose this TED Talk because I personally love learning new approaches for better communication within the world. I think speaking with an appropriate and powerful way plays a big factor in a successful economy. But before we can even learn how to speak so that others will listen, is first break the habits that we carry with us when we do speak. There are 7 primary habits that most people fall into, with the first one being gossip. Speaking ill of someone who is not present, not a nice habit, and we know perfectly well that the person gossiping to us will, in 5 minutes later, be gossiping about us. Secondly, judging. We know people who are like this in a conversation, and it's very hard to listen to somebody if you know that you're being judged and found wanting at the same time. Third, being negative. My uncle, in the last years of his life, became very negative, and it's hard to listen to. I remember one day, I said to him, "It's October 1st," and he said, "I know, isn't it dreadful?" It's very hard to listen when somebody's that negative, am I right? And another form of negativity, complaining, which brings us to the 4th habit. We complain about weather, the sports, about politics, about everything, but actually complaining is a viral misery. It is not spreading sunshine and lightness in the world. Next one is excuses. We all have met this guy that wants to blame others for his faults and never wants to take responsibility for his actions. Again, it can be very hard to listen to someone like that. Exaggeration, the 6th of the 7, can be turned into lying when speaking, and we don't want to listen to people when we know they're lying to us. And finally, dogmatism, the confusing of facts with opinions. When these two are combined, it's like listening to the wind. You know, somebody's bombarding you with their opinions as if they were true. It can be very hard to listen to. Well, these are the 7 sins of speaking that all of us should try to avoid. Now, let's dive into what makes someone speak so that others will listen. We have discussed what not to do. Now let's discuss what can we do to increase the power of your speaking. Timbre, for example, can make people want to listen to you. As Richard shows, we prefer voices which are rich, smooth, and warm. But if that's not you, that's okay. You can train your voice in such a way through breathing, with posture, with exercises to improve the timbre of your voice. Prosody is another thing that you can use to catch your audience. This is the sing-song, the meta language that we use to impart the meaning. It's a root one for meaning and conversation. People who speak all in one note are quite hard to listen when they don't have any possibility at all. Am I right? Also, we have repetitive prosody, where even every sentence ends as if it was a question when it's actually not a question, it's a statement. The next thing that can be a big factor in people listening to you is your pace. I can get very excited by saying something very quickly, or I can slow right down to emphasize. And at the end of all that, of course, our old friend silence. There's nothing wrong with a bit of silence in a talk, is there? We don't have to fill it with uhs and ahs like I sometimes find myself doing. But silence can be very powerful. Finally, volume is the last factor that can affect the way people listen to you. I can get very excited with volume, or I can have you pay very attention by getting very quiet. Some people broadcast the whole time. Try not to do that. That is called soundcasting, imposing your sound on people around you carelessly and inconsiderately. Not nice. Of course, where most of this all falls into is when you got something very important to do. It might be standing on a stage, giving a speech, giving a talk to someone, or giving a talk to a group of people. It might be proposing marriage, asking for a raise, maybe even a wedding speech. Whatever it is, if it's important to you, you owe it to yourself to use these tools to engage your audience and become a better speaker. Thanks for listening.